Good morning, welcome back to another video on the channel. So we have reached the quarter-final stage of the final major of 2024 at the US Open. We have four fantastic matches lined up on paper, with them all being very open matches. I think all of them could go either way, but I'm going to do my best to preview and predict who will reach the semi-final stages in New York. Kicking things off with Alexander Zverev against Taylor Fritz. As you can see there, Zverev leads a very tight head-to-head record 5-4. The last meeting did go the way of Taylor Fritz at Wimbledon in a deciding fifth set. And I feel like this is just a huge opportunity for both players, and we could see a classic match between these two. They've both not performed at the best in latter stages of Grand Slams in the past, but I think both players are improving with experience and maturity. Both players have really developed different parts of the game over the past couple of years, which is why they're reaching the stage of a Grand Slam. And as I mentioned, Fritz won the last meeting between these two players at Wimbledon a few months ago, 1-5, but Zverev was experiencing a knee issue at that time, which I think did play a little part in the overall result. Looking ahead to tonight's match, Fritz will obviously have the crowd playing in the US. I feel like some players react differently to playing in front of a home crowd in such a big match, with it being a Grand Slam quarter-final. Obviously, it's fantastic to have the crowd on your side and supporting you, but also brings a lot of pressure being in America, and it'll be interesting to see how Fritz really copes with that occasion against an elite player in Zverev. Both these players sort of play similar tennis. They both like to play first strike tennis, particularly on hard courts. The first serves will be key. I think whoever serves more consistently, steps inside the court, unleashes a big ground stroke on the second shot of the rally, will have the edge. I think Zverev is more solid and consistent, particularly from the back of the court. We know Zverev strikes the ball very heavy, deep. His backhand, in my opinion, is elite with the variety, the way he defends at that corner. He's got the backhand down the line, the backhand cross court. Very rarely misses it. It's become his really go-to shot over the past couple of years. And he's also moving a lot better than what he used to, Zverev. I've been very impressed with him this year with his ability at the net and his confidence to come into the net and the conviction with his hands. I think he's done very well at the shorten points, and it's a big weapon of his now, and that could be the difference. Between these two players, when you look at them on paper, I feel like Zverev just does everything slightly better than Fritz. Fritz is a player that I mentioned. I think he's improving with experience. He's playing very well. You can see there beating Matteo Berrettini in straight sets, coming from a set down against Casper Ruud, another very good win. So I think Fritz needs to try and take this match deep and use the crowd, because we've seen in the past with Alexander Zverev that he hasn't performed his best in majors in the deep stages, and his forehand and second serve can still become a huge issue. I still feel like Zverev's got a mental block where he doesn't quite perform his best in the biggest moment. He sometimes goes missing, he becomes passive, he makes lots of unforced errors off that forehand side. So Fritz can take us deep and really involve the crowd and get them behind him, use them as a positive, serve well, hit his forehand into the corners and push Zverev wide and deep. And there's no reason why Fritz can't win this one. But in terms of a final prediction, I think Zverev's backhand will just be the edge. I think he's serving very well. As I say, he's attacking the net with real conviction and authority and shortening points to mix up his attack and defence. I expect him to make a major breakthrough soon, Zverev. I've been talking on this channel a lot over the past couple of years. I feel he's on the verge of finally winning a major title. It's just about getting over that mental block. So I feel like he's got the game to do it now. Longer exchange, I feel, will favour Zverev. The longer the point goes, I think he's more consistent and solid and hits a harder, flatter length. And I'm going to go Alexander Zverev to win this one in 4 sets. Moving on now to Grigor Dimitrov against Frances Tiafoe. Dimitrov leads his head-to-head 3-1, and I think mentally this is just a huge test for Dimitrov. He's been dubbed as the next player to win a Grand Slam for many, many years. We all know the outstanding talent and variety that Grigor Dimitrov has, particularly with that wand of a single-handed backhand. And I think you could go as far as saying this is his best ever chance to win a major. He's reached the quarter-final stage. There's no Djokovic, there's no Alcaraz. Yes, he will have to come through a Sinner or a Medvedev in a semi-final, but Dimitrov's playing fantastic tennis at the moment. He recovered very well in that 4th round against Andrei Rublev to win a decider. Dimitrov's a player that we know in the past has thrown a lot of chances away to get to this stage of a Grand Slam, and looked like it was going to happen again when Rublev recovered from 2 sets down to level it. But Dimitrov regained his composure and played a very good, strong decider to take that one. He's playing just excellent tennis so far. He's played very well throughout the 2024, particularly on serve. I think he serves very well on the hard court. He's moving well. He slices as good as ever, counter-punching fantastically. And he's in the best place possible. And he's got a great draw to reach a semi-final. You know, Frances Tiafoe is obviously a fantastic hardcore player. Particularly in America, he's a player that is at his best when he's really showcasing his abilities, using his shot making, very exuberant on the court, loves to involve the crowd. And Tiafoe is a player that's really turned his season around from coming to America. You know, he had a very disappointing 2024 throughout. Turned up to Cincinnati, played lights out tennis to reach the final, pushed Yannick Sinner all the way in that one. Has come through a great battle against Ben Shelton, Alexei Popyrin, who we know knocked out Novak Djokovic. And, you know, Tiafoe is really playing with freedom. He's a brilliant shot maker. He's got a very solid backhand. I think the backhand for me could be a key exchange in this one. I always prefer a double-handed backhand against a single-handed backhand, particularly when it's such a close matchup in a match that has got so much on the line. And I feel like Tiafoe could have success with the back-to-back, backhand-to-backhand exchanges. They've both had very tough physical and mental battles in this tournament, but I feel like Tiafoe performs to the crowd a little bit better. Dimitrov, on the other hand, does have more weapons, have more variety, particularly with that slice and the variety in his backhand, but he can be mentally vulnerable. I've seen Dimitrov not perhaps perform his best in the big moments, particularly at matches of this magnitude, whereas Tiafoe tends to be aggressive. He tends to go for the match and really take the match with his hands and just look to win it rather than be passive and wait for mistakes. I feel like if he serves well and really steps inside the court and starts to hit outrageous winners and get the crowd behind him, then this could be Tiafoe's match to lose. In terms of a final prediction, it's so tough to call. It's a toss of a coin, really, this one, because it's a new experience for both these players. I feel like Tiafoe may handle the occasion slightly better in America, and he'll have the crowd, and he could edge the big moments. So I'm going to go Frances Tiafoe to win this one in 5. Moving on now to the Brit, Jack Draper, up against Alex de Minaur. De Minaur leads us head-to-head 3-0, but I think it's fair to say that Jack Draper is a player that is developing very quickly, particularly with his physical side. We know he struggled with that in the previous years, but on the court, he's really developed his game and also physicality. Draper's absolutely cruised through to his first ever major quarterfinal, and if you look at his results there, beating Zhang, Diaz, Zanshul, Thomas Mahak, all in straight sets. I think it does have its pros and cons. Obviously, it's fantastic to get through in straight sets. It's a sign of playing very well, good for the body. But he also hasn't came through an acid test yet. He hasn't been tested particularly in any sets, let alone matches. But Alex de Minaur will certainly present tough tests. We know how good of a hardcore player he is. It's fantastic for British tennis fans to have a quarter-finalist in a major after the Andy Murray retirement in particular. And everything seems to be coming together for Jack Draper. We know he's a player that was hugely talented, but he had lots of injury issues, and hopefully they are behind him now. He looks very physically strong, as I mentioned. Mahak was expected to give Draper a tough test in the last 16, but had a horrible performance, just never settled into the match. But Draper, to his credit, took full advantage and got on and off court very quickly. De Minaur, as I mentioned, will be a very tough test. Thankfully, the hip issue looks okay. That ruled him out of Wimbledon when he had to withdraw before facing Novak Djokovic in the quarterfinal. He moved very well against Thompson, and de Minaur is a player that is very good to watch. He doesn't get many free points at all. You know, he doesn't hit too many clean winners or many aces, but he's an excellent defender. His backhand's brilliant. He's such a consistent baseline player. Arguably one of the quickest players on the tour as well. He's great to watch in terms of the entertainment factor. He wins points that he never should with defence and basically being in the crowd at times. And he doesn't hit many unforced errors. So de Minaur is a player that really forces you to play well. And if you can hit through de Minaur consistently over 5 sets, then you're playing very good tennis. De Minaur, I think this matchup really suits him. He enjoys players that hit the ball very hard. And Draper's a player that does that. And I think de Minaur will really enjoy counter-punching Draper's pace and rallies. I feel like the key for de Minaur to win this match is serving and returning well. I feel like if he does that and manages to maintain length and push Draper deep and force him to attack from places that he doesn't want to, or if Draper can get a good serve and return in to be able to look inside the court and attack the net himself. We know de Minaur's very, very quick and good around the net. But the longer the points go, I think the more the favour de Minaur. The shorter the points are, the really favour Draper. I think if Draper can get a good first serve in and get a short return, then we know it really opens up on that forehand side in particular. If de Minaur has to serve a lot of second serves, I'm sure Draper will step inside the court and look to get authority in the rally early. So I feel like de Minaur needs to serve and return very well to keep Draper deep and keep him moving and try and tire him out. In terms of a final prediction, I think Draper will definitely be tested. We know he's cruised to the tournament so far, but Alex de Minaur is an excellent hardcore player, and this is a huge opportunity for him to reach a semi-final of a major. Whether de Minaur is completely fully fit, we're not sure. He has looked okay around the hip, but hasn't been physically pushed to the max yet, so it'll be interesting to see if this goes 3+ hours, how de Minaur react with his hip. First set, I feel, is very important. Draper's a player that we know has also struggled physically in long matches in the past. De Minaur could struggle with his hips, so whoever wins the first set can really settle, and it'll be a marathon task with the other player to turn this match around. I just feel like with de Minaur's ultimate consistency from the back of the court, the ability of his counter-punching will force Draper to play, and I feel like make unforced errors. So I'm going to go Alex de Minaur to win this one in 4 close sets. Moving on now to definitely tie the round. This could be the final itself in Jannik Sinner against Daniil Medvedev. This is a very interesting head-to-head record. Medvedev leads at 7-5, but actually won the first 5 meetings between these two players. And then Jannik Sinner, I believe, won the next 7. And then, sorry, I think Medvedev won the first 4. Jannik Sinner won the next 7. Medvedev won the last one between these two players at Wimbledon in a deciding 5th set. And I feel like over the years, Jannik Sinner's grew more patient. He constructs points a lot better. He's developed that power. He makes less errors. He's very patient now against Medvedev and just breaks him down with heavy ground strokes into the corners. And particularly in a fast hard court, it's even tougher to defend. And I feel like Medvedev will struggle to consistently counterpunch and defend against a player that hits the ball so hard and consistent as Sinner does. And I also feel like Sinner over the years has become more willing to come forward. I did feel like he got a little bit negative at times in his previous years on the tour, but now he's really willing to step inside the baseline. He backs himself at the net. He backs himself to shorten points, and that's really developed his game as well. As I mentioned, Medvedev did win in 5 at Wimbledon, but Sinner was very ill throughout that match, getting his blood pressure taken. He went off court a couple of times. He looked very disengaged and just not well. And Sinner really struggled to hit through Medvedev. His ground stroke speed was down. That allowed Medvedev to really counter-punch and get on top in rallies and move and dominate Sinner around. And one thing I really picked up on that Wimbledon matchup was the way that Medvedev really changed his return position to look to be more aggressive and get into rallies. He also attacked the net a lot more than he had done against Sinner previously. He was a lot more aggressive. He stepped inside the baseline. He looked to hit winners of himself. And I feel like he needs to do that again. You can defend and counterpunch against the likes of, Marozsan and Kaboli and Borg with real success, and you can win matches that way. But when you come against Jannik Sinner, who in my opinion is the best hardcore player in the world, can also rally from deep, can also defend and counterpunch as well as Medvedev, but also carries huge amounts of power from the baseline, then Medvedev needs to offer more. He needs to be able to hit winners himself. He needs to hit lots of aces. He needs to serve well and needs to return aggressively, particularly on second serve, to have a chance of winning this one. And I feel like this match is probably resting on Medvedev's serve. He needs to serve very well to be able to mix attack and defense and have control of points. But I also feel it needs to be unpredictable. Use his backhand down the line, use his forehand angles, which I think he does very well when he uses that weapons to full extent. In terms of final prediction, I said in my pre-tournament prediction that Sinner was definitely my pick to win this event until the failed drug test news came out. I wanted to see how Sinner reacted mentally to that and would it affect his on-court performances. I do think it did for the first round. He was setting a breakdown to McDonald. But from then onwards, he's been pretty flawless. He was outstanding last night in his last 16 match against Tommy Paul. And obviously comes into this tournament having won Cincinnati, where he played fantastically well as well. Medvedev, I feel like, will frustrate Sinner at times. He might force a few unforced errors. He will have success. He beat Sinner at Wimbledon, so he'll be carrying confidence in this match. But I just feel like Sinner, the way he played last night was flawless, and I feel like he'll consistently beat down the defences of Medvedev and win this one in 4 sets. So thank you for watching. If you did enjoy the video and would like to leave your opinions, please do like and leave a comment below. If you would subscribe to the channel, it would be greatly appreciated. I do this YouTube channel to improve my skills, improve my knowledge of the sport, to shine more light on tennis because it is a sport I love. And I will also be covering lots more events in 2024. So thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next video.